What is up, guys, and welcome to the first official Salt Lake City Elks podcast. This is a pre-recording, first one I've been able to do, so I'm really excited to finally break down this off-season moves and going into this season in season 7. I'm looking forward to a very competitive season coming off of the obviously me being a new hire and just the legitimacy of how good we're expected to be, and hopefully make a division push again this year. So first, I wanted to go and talk into just some of the season expectations. With that being said, I wanted to bring up the schedule for you guys so we can kind of break down the legitimacy of what we're really looking at for this season. Going into week 2 after week 1's face off with the Thunderbirds, watching that game, it was a very interesting one to say the least. Kai seemed to struggle, but as a rookie quarterback going in, it was a high level intensity for him to have to face a powerful Thunderbirds team. We expect to go into that game and really get a win there. So that's high expectations for us in the sense of like just controlling the rookie and being able to make sure he's in contact. Then week 3, I have a newly acquired Dombrowski for the Gunners is a big pickup for them, but I'm really excited to see what we can do against a team that recently has a defensive superstar, as many would say, and Dombrowski, and see what Jabri can do with the new sorted out talents, and of course, Coach Moolah being newly acquired for the Gunners organization. So, and then we go into week 4 with a Desperados of a actual. Uh, some could say old face in Salt Lake because Kyle Bain is now starting over there in Desperado country. It's pretty interesting to me in the situation that he got put into, considering we literally traded him straight up for Eric Fisher, and of course now Eric Fisher's taking the back seat to Latavian Worrell, which we'll get into later in the show. And then, of course, how everything looks now for the Desperados and how Kyle Bain's taking over there. So I really feel like, based on how he plays this season, it should be interesting to see who really won that trade based off of a prior trade from old head coach. And then week 5, of course, we got the Crusaders to a interesting matchup to say the least. It'll be my first time ever officially head coaching against this full entire division. I was assistant coach last year, but I'm really interested to see with me getting the full reins now what I can do against high talented quarterback in Ben Wakefield, who is really you cannot underestimate at any point during the game at any 4 quarters. So I'm really interested to see how we are able to handle him, especially in the just mainly in the pass game, and then them also having a surprise standout in Benedict and their running back. I definitely was not expecting that whatsoever, especially near the end of the season when he was really able to put up the consistent 100 yards. I'm pretty sure performances. So it'll be really interesting to see how we're able to match up against them and how which way they kind of lean towards and their abilities. And then of course week 6, Condors. I mean McCoy, he's that man's a beast. They recently acquired Jacob Reed in the draft. They have a really young team and a really unproven team, I guess. Now, considering all of the abilities and players that they have on that roster, it should be really interesting. I think that they'll make it really competitive for us and make sure that they're keeping everybody honest in a division and hopefully keep it tight. Um, then week 9, we've got the Explorers, which I mean that's a Latavian Worrell going to the Explorers in Columbus. So I'm really looking forward to that. I think the most at any of these games. I know it's probably also I think our toughest competition this year in all of the games we play, in my opinion, besides the Snowhawks who are in our division. Um, I think they're easily one of the most unpredictable teams this year due to their new starting quarterback in DJ and how he was able to control week 1 pretty well in his play basically through all 4 quarters consistently. I mean, he didn't really make any major mistakes in the week 1 performance. He was really head down successful, and I mean, you can't complain about that, I'm sure, for Bill, the way he's looking at it. He just wish they probably could put up a little bit more points on the Barons, but can't complain otherwise. And then we go into of course, our second matchup against the Crusaders, which I really spoke on Ben Wakefield, but I'm expecting to go and sweep both of them both times. I really do. I have high hopes for us this season. I really think our defense is able to do that, especially considering all of the new signings and everything, and our new trade pieces and new placements on that defense and our starters and everything. So I'm really looking forward in that way, and we'll definitely get to cover over that as well. Condors I spoke over earlier, McCoy. I mean, just unproven or a little less unproven considering all the new pieces and everything they've added. But this will be our second time around where we're actually playing Salt Lake. So I'm also looking hopefully to sweep them in both games. I think we have the ability to do so, especially bringing in Worrell. And then of course we have the Snowhawks, which will be our first meeting in Week 12, which is quite surprising to me because when I was handled the schedule, I was expecting, okay, I play them in the first one of the first 4 weeks, right? That's what I was like. My expectations was we're playing the Snowhawks within the first one of the first 4 weeks, and then I'm sure we'll meet them at the end of the season when it's going to matter the most, of course. Which of course every game matters, but yeah, no, I legitimately looked at this, got really confused. Was like, okay, we play them in Week 12, our first game. So when do we play them again? And then I realized, okay, Week 15. Yeah, this is going to be a little tough because we're gonna have to put ourselves in a good position in like the first half of our season. We're just gonna have to because we can't expect to walk in and beat the Snowhawks twice, especially in Portland, let alone in Salt Lake. They're a well respected team. They made it the Relo Bowl last year, and they have high hopes again, as I know, based off of everything that Mitchie's been saying on his podcast and everything else. And I'm hoping to pull one of the two and win one of the two of these matchups. And if we do that, we're able to go 5-1 in the division, and that's a great thing to do at any point, no matter how well your season goes. If you go 5-1 in the division, that's big. That's a big step in the right direction, especially for your season. Um, then we got week 13 against the Thunderbirds. We talked about them a little earlier about how well they were able to shut down Kai Cash and that rookie experience. I think that it's going to be the most defensive heavy game in our um was it schedule, just because of how strong their defense is and how little like room they give you of success. Like their offense sometimes, like how they showed in week 1, it can be a bit of a slow start, uh but you can't rely on them to get halted for 3 points consistently, and if you do that you'll lose. Okay, sooner or later they're going to break through and they're going to get a touchdown, especially with bringing in London Lions. They're a high-powered caliber, even a more high-powered caliber team than they already were. Going in off of that, then we have our second matchup against Portland. Like I said, I'm hoping to just win one of the two. I mean, they've got an amazing team over there in Portland, and I would not be surprised if one of these two games is the deciding factor of which one of us two make the division. It's a high opportunity to see what could happen based off that. And then of course, not not by any short shadow or any of sorts. We end up playing the Barons, and the Barons and what Roland's been able to do with that defense is nothing short but amazing. I I respect him and the way he's been able to shift his team and all of the past stuff. I've been able to actually look over his team and realize what he's been able to do with that team. It's pretty amazing. Um, I'm quite interested to see how our defense will shape up against that read option, like potential ability, like how they were running that in week 1. It'll be interesting if he ends up running with that playbook and everything, then I'll that type of scheme and that set to like go all the way through. If they do, I'd be really looking forward to it because I'm just hoping Garrison Ash can come down and lay a couple mean hit sticks. But if that's not the way he goes, we'll just adjust to it. And I'm expected for a good competitive game, especially with being the last week. I could see it really being if us or the Barons really aren't in that full playoff contention, like we're on the edge on the bubble. This might be who gets in the wild card if it comes to that for either one of us. So I really could see this being one of the most important games as well for all of RFL, let alone for us, our two teams in the playoff shakeout at the end of the season. So off of that, off of the season expectations, we'll go into this week's game or this upcoming week's game, which will be the Chicago Tigers that I spoke on a little bit at the beginning. Um, the main thing I have going into the game is making sure pressure on Kai Cash. He is a well um, performed college player that doesn't have that experience yet, and I think that's why he struggled so heavily against that strong defense, the Thunderbirds. But the thing that we don't have is guys like Max Knight and the other defensive end and all that ability of just getting after him. Even though they didn't show as much pressure or like it didn't get the stat line for Saxon wise, they did do really good job at getting pressure on Kai Cash, which I think was why they were able to maximize their defensive success against Chicago's offense. I'm quite interested to see if I mean, I'm assuming the coach was it Coach Stein recently acquired or recent coach for the Tigers. I'm really interested to see if he ends up changing anything last second going into this next week to play up against us rather than against the Thunderbirds because us and the Thunderbirds are way two different spectrums. We don't have the same style, in my opinion, whatsoever. Their offensive brigade is the ability to get downfield quickly and effectively, and I think in our sense of what we did and that with our last quarterback and Eric Fisher, able to just consistently look to get third and short, even if we did get on thirds, and just taking and milking the clock a little bit because we wanted to give our defense a break because our defense was keeping us in games for the most part. So I'm quite interested to see if there's any last second switches. I do expect it to be a win for us this week for my first career uh, in regular season coaching game. I'm quite interested to see how it ends up turning out for us and how it ends up turning out for them. But of course, I always choose my guys over anybody. And no matter what week, my confidence is always at all time high for my guys. I have the utmost respect for all the other coaches and stuff that we face, and I wish them all the best unless they're playing us. It's just a simple fact of the matter. I hope it's a really clean game. I wish for no injuries upon either of our teams, and we get full full healthy roster for both sides, so we actually get to see the true talents of both teams when we face off this week. So I'm very interested to see how this game turns out, but I'm taking us in a win and to be that much more over the top in the uh, hot. And I wouldn't even say hot take, but I'm gonna say it's a low scoring game, and I'm gonna say 17-6. I think they get 2 field goals on us. I That's what I think. I think 17-6 is a fair score. Um, Worrell's shaping into our offense quite well. I don't know how well he's going to feel when we go into against the Chicago's team that was so successful in stopping in the red zone. So it should be very interesting in that way. But I really do feel like we're able to put up at least 17 points against them, and it should be a solid, captivating win in the right and a good first step in the right direction for this season. So off of that, then we're going to go into just some player updates and personnel changes, really into the season. Sorry, I have to get off my paper here, but the main player updates and personnel changes that you need to really be an expectation for. Of course, we had the Latavian Worrell trade this preseason or expedition or preseason pretty much. It was a trade involving Joe Griffin, Ben Nicholson, and then a third round pick for this upcoming draft for Latavian World straight up. I really wanted to make this deal when I started to realize the slight issues and impactful things that at the quarterback position was more necessary than I was given the credit out to be. Eric Fisher did an entirely great job. I have no problems with how he played for us this last season. I had no issues with him, especially as the coordinator, especially on the defensive side. He was able to produce enough for us to win many football games. That's why we were able to win the division, and it was enough to get us in the playoffs. We sadly couldn't pull it out in the first round, and I feel like it was slightly in part of Eric Fisher's play because he played it in the game of Mix and many other guys. Mix, Smitty, Bill would like to say he just plays it too safe. Um, he has a potential great career in front of him, but he'd rather take checkdowns and 5 yards and stuff and make it more sought out of enough to win the game, but enough not enough by himself to win it by him like win it for us. So like when it came down to the last drive, we'd have to rely on different situations or different scenarios involving different personnel rather than him actually hitting that great throw on the sideline within that 2 minute drill or something like that. So it kind of stinks, but we felt like it was in our best interest to move on from Eric Fisher, our starting quarterback, and we brought in Latavian Worrell, and I feel like he's going to do a really good job. He's molded in really well uh, in this part preseason and this beginning before the season of all learning the playbook, learning the new scheme, everything like that. And I think he's done an incredible job, and I have high hopes for them. And to see how he's going to match up with the rest of our offense with Darius Martin in the backfield with them, and then also having guys like DeAndre Mail, our top receiver, and Roy Kincaid coming off of a ecstatic year at offense, winning the offense rookie of the year, and then on top of that, bringing in a completely new tight end and Mason Dunn that I'm hoping really gets a feel for our offense and our scheme and our play, and I'm hoping he can make a big step in the right direction and just propel our offense that much more, especially losing a guy like Chase McDermott. Um, some more updates, personnel wise. We were able to bring in a guy. Actually, I was had liked yet to talk about yet was Kenny Bills, wide receiver. Uh, he's been a little bit uh, of a, I wouldn't say fully lesser known receiver, but he is definitely a solid receiver who is, I feel, undervalued and underappreciated due to his lack of athleticism and his speed, his his excel, everything like that, his jumping. He's just a super big body framed receiver. He does an incredible job at that. He's a big threat in the red zone, and he's a big physical guy who, if you put him in traffic, he's probably going to make that catch when it hits his hands. He really hasn't had much of an issue in this preseason coming in. We signed him to a 1 year deal just to get him a feel. He's quite up there in age and stuff, of course, but I feel like combining him with a guy like Roy Kincaid and DeAndre Mail, with those three being our top receivers, and then of course having guys like Herrick and some other guys that were under him, and even guys like Luis Cardenas and Stephon Harris coming in as rookies can learn after a guy like Kenny Bills and all these other guys. I'm hoping to have him this season make a decent impact for us and be a reliable third option at the receiver position. Um, After that, we got a guy in Colton Waxworth, a guy that I'm sure some people may know, most probably don't. He's a outside linebacker who is fast. He's an older guy. He's a true vet. He's a guy who's going to come in with such a young linebacker core. Like our oldest two guys are Frankie Blake and Antoine Buck. Antoine Buck's like 32, I believe, and Frankie Blake is 28. So those two guys alone were able to help develop our linebackers in the prior positions. But I feel like a guy like Colton Waxworth, or Waxworth is going to be able to come in, make that special teams impact that people will lack to realize that you do kind of need, because the game's in three phases: offense, defense, and special teams. All three are important. You can lose a game just off of not being able to play in one particular one better than the others, or if a team flat out beats you. I don't want to allow any special teams points this year. That's a big goal of mine, and I'm hoping that he's going to be able to help do that and also help train and really influence the young guys at the linebacker core and really help them take that step forward in their career and be able to progress them down the road. And then another guy of actually a recent pickup, one that I have yet to announce or really speak on, is because he's more or less under the radar guy. His name's Greg is it Durham? He's an old vet corner. He's about 28 years old, so he's not really old, but he's up there in age. He's really just more of that potential depth or even in between for starter play. He doesn't really have any huge standouts about him. His coverage ability is quite mediocre or moderately respectable. He's not really going to be a lockdown guy or anything like that of expectations, but I feel like he'll be able to come in and bring a whole new sense when we have all of this even fatigue and all these issues, even potential injuries down the road, that he can hopefully step in and make a few good key plays for us when necessary, especially when he needs to take in snaps, when these guys like Cameron Ross, Chris Ramsey off last year that we were picking up, that we actually signed to an extension this offseason for 2 years. And then guys like Deshaun Abbas that I'm going to talk about, of a rookie that's going to really be making a big step or coming into a starting role immediately, and really looking to see what he can do and see if he can help the young guys, or even make a few key snaps like I was talking about. Um, Going off of that, really, now I'm going to talk about our rookies and the rookie expectations coming into this season. I'm going to go over the guys we drafted, what I expect for them, or where they are actually at the moment, because not everyone did make the roster in some way or fashion. Not all of them made it directly onto the 53-man roster, but I will give you my expectation in my wrap up. And I have reached out to as many, if not all of them, on our expectations for this season. So if you just give me 1 second, I want to be able to pull this up for you guys. But the main thing that to start us off and to look at is my man Connor Baker. He was our first selection, especially for me as a head coach. He came in out of Texas A&M, as you can see. I have a wide understanding of what he's able to do versus what I want him to do. Uh, he's going to be a well-respected guy back there in the safety position, especially being able to be paired up with a guy like Garrison Ash. I expect him to make a week one presence, start and presence into week one. I feel like he's going to be able to come in when, especially when Garrison Ash comes down to play in that box for us, to really set himself apart from other rookies at that safety position. He has a really good pursuit ability, and he has a really good ability to come up and make plays on the running back to allow him from that. Get that maybe 10-yard run, but not let him break for a 20 or 25. Every so often, because he's a rookie's experience, he struggles in his lack of fully making that strong body, big body tackle and one-on-one open field. But besides that, he's done it more of a higher consistency, which is really good to see from him, of course. And I have big expectations for for him this season, and I really hope to see big things out of him. Next, I'm all this is out of order, letting you know, but like another guy that of course, that we drafted this year out of the third round, as you can see at Oregon, is Stephon Harris. Big body, physical player. By the way, the throwing power is speed, by the way. So just so if you see that, it's not throw you off. But he is a guy that is going to be respected in due time. He's not coming in with a golden spoon. I let him know this and I told him this. He's going to have to work, but I know if he does and he stays 10 toes down and he takes one day at a time, one week at a time and progresses and gets 0.01% better every day. I promised him that sooner or later he can really get those snaps, and depending on injuries, he might actually make it up into the 53rd man roster. He's currently sitting on our practice squad at the moment. Um, I do expect for him to make a solid progression on our practice squad and really learn from guys like I was talking about with Kenny Bills. Was it Roy Kincaid, who of course is a little bit younger but well respected and is after his offensive rookie year performance, and then DeAndre Mayo. So those three guys alone, I'm really expecting them to make to help him out and really teach him the reins and what he needs to do to be a Salt Lake City Elk. So then coming in after that, off of that, we've got Mason Dunn. I mean, this dude, I've already talked to other coaches and I've even talked to other people, let alone like this guy. I think is the one rookie that gets me the most excited because I know how he's going to be able to perform this year. Um, Bringing in Latavian Worrell takes him from where he was expected to play to there. I don't know what it is. I don't know what type of connection he's already made with Latavian Worrell, but Latavian Worrell legitimately loves throwing to this dude. Mason Dunn catches the ball. He has an incredible athleticism that's quite unmatched for that linebacker position for the people to have to guard him. So he has really good mismatches. Uh, I give him he gives me young Darren Waller vibes in the most respectable way possible. I'm a big Raiders fan, so like me saying this, that's a big shout out to it. But he's just quite young and untamed at the moment. But what you have to understand is he can play that 5 out, uh, in tight end position, so he's able to spread out the field. He's able to put his hand in the ground and really go run that route. Of course, he's not really worked on his full was it run block or even pass blocking? But I mean, in due time, that'll come, especially going jumping up to the next level. I expect him to make a solid impact, and he will be coming in week one with a full starting role. So I'm quite excited to see what he can do. I have high expectations for him, and of course, I'm always wishing him the best. Luke Poor, guy we drafted in the 7th round. Um, this is a guy who's quite interesting to me because he's a really decent size, just quarterback. He's more of your prototypical, almost built strong arms, but he likes to run. He's like a scrambler build. So, of course, I'm not saying Cam Newton or anything like that. I wouldn't say that. But he likes to know that he can do both. Like he has the dual threat ability, so he can get outside the pocket, go pick up 3, 5 yards and slide and everything. But at the same time, coming in out of college, he did have a bit of some accuracy issues from time to time, but I feel like if he sits, he stays patient and he really works at it, he can really make a decent impact on our team. And he is one of our guys that currently is on the practice squad as well. I hope for him to sit and learn behind guys like behind like Eric Fisher, but also of course Latavian Worrell. I expect them both to really help and progress his game and to see what he can really do for the future. There is potential there. It's just not quite sure of what we've seen basically off the preseason. He did beat out Quan Downing, a guy who had been on the roster prior to play a similar role that he did, but this year we're kind of taking a step in a different direction of playing with a mobile quarterback on the 53-man roster, and instead I think we're going to go more of a set in stone pocket type style. So it'll be quite interesting to see what he can do, and quite interesting to see how it progressed during the season in practice squad. Another guy, Luis Cardenas. This man is a guy who did make the cut for a 53-man roster. He actually beat out Michael Henley, a receiver I had actually high expectations for after signing him in this past offseason, following the season. I was really expecting Michael Henley to come in and really take that last spot, but Luis Cardenas surprised me in, of course, a good way. 97 speed, by the way, not throwing power, but um, he did a fantastic job in preseasons. He really looked like he wanted to make an impact and he wanted to do something and really wanted to show his true colors of he can be a well respected receiver. So at this point, I have him at the last spot for our receivers. I believe he's at number 6 on our depth chart, but he is starting in punt return because what he was able to do, returning the ball really consistent and be able to, of course, tuck the ball and have it well hooked. So I'm quite interested to see what he can do for us this season. Depending on injuries, we'll see if he gets any snaps throughout the season. But as of right now, I'm expecting him to learn, of course, like the over from all those older guys, or the guys I talked about earlier. Another guy we brought in that we drafted was Jordan Grace of the 5th round from Ohio State. Um, this is another guy that we made that made the 53-man roster. No slight upon him. He wasn't as highly talented as some other corners, and that's not to like discredit what he was able to do this season. He just is not coming in with the same athleticism, but he does come in with that dog aspect factor. I expect big things out of him, and I'm really hoping the best for him. He's coming in at our number 5, I want to say, corner on the depth chart, and I know he's the number 2 for slot corner and playing there, so he will get a few snaps in that sense, in that way, but we'll see from there. Another guy is Deshaun Evans, free safety. This is a man that got moved down to the practice squad. He's quite untapped potential. He's more of the guy that he's got a foundation to his game, but he doesn't really have the well wrapped build around what he wants to be. He's more of an in between, stuck on whether he wants to play that free safety or corner position. So, quite interested to see what we're able to do with him there. He also wants to potentially play in the box. So, I've talked to him about potential roles for him and everything like that. Same thing, kind of going back to Jordan Grace. He's kind of in that same build, but I really feel like he's more of that slot corner type. Um, and then, of course, last but not least, Deshaun Abass, a guy I spoke on a little bit prior to this. He's a corner we have high expectations for to make a day one, week one impact, just like Connor Baker and Mason Dunn. Those 3 guys will be starting in all most of the snaps, bearing injury, of course. The Deshaun Abass is coming in with high expectations, being a rookie, knowing that he's going to have to fight for against every single of the receivers, especially in our division, let alone the conference that we face and all these top receivers. I have high expectations for him to stick, be competitive, and I'm just wishing him the best. I know there's going to be growing pains when it comes with it, but I know that he can fight through it, and I know he has a competitive edge about him, so I'm really looking forward to that. So, pretty much after rookie expectations, that'll conclude anything that we have for this offseason, preseason, going into this upcoming week or anything like that. I'm really glad and hoping that you guys enjoyed this episode. It's a little rough for me, but I really enjoyed putting this on. This will be my one and only time in this location at home recording. So this is a pre-recorded due to my schedule and how everything's set. But I hope to have a few live streams and everything like that more scheduled and set later in this season and everything like that, especially when I get moved back to college. But I have high expectations. my goal is to go back to back this season, win the division, and make a playoff push. Maybe shake a few uh, playoff brackets or so on, you could say. So I'm hoping for the best. Good luck to all the new coaches out there. I know it's not going to be easy. It's going to be quite tough, but I'm wishing everybody the best. Safety, like being safe and no injuries upon any of my guys, let alone anybody else's, because I want to play everybody at peak form. But yeah, so thank you for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed. Thank you for the Relocation Football League to put me in this position to be able to be a head coach for my first season, and then also thank you for letting me borrow some of the edits and stuff in the draft prospect stuff. So thank you, and if you want to check out the Relocation Football League, at their website, their Instagram, Facebook, even, and I think that's about it. But thank you guys for tuning in. Make sure to leave a like, smash the subscribe button at the bottom if you enjoyed. I will be hopefully doing future episodes, and I'm not sure if I'm going to stick with this or whether I'm going to stick with Anchor, but I hope you guys enjoyed. So thank you.